Arriving in Bhutan with my daughter Josephine in search of happiness. As filmmakers concerned with world peace and social justice, we have come to explore this tiny country nestled in the Himalaya. Bhutan, the birthplace of a radical development policy that defines progress not by gross national product, but by gross national happiness. As the GNH movement gathers momentum around the world, we wish to see for ourselves a society that is based on the happiness of its citizens, where non-material values govern both politics and daily life. Developed here in Bhutan in the 1980s, gross national happiness is now espoused by economists, environmentalists, and thinkers across the planet. Is this daring approach the key to resolving the crisis facing our world?
Hello. Welcome to Bhutan.
Thank you.
My name is Karma, and I'll be guide for your trip here in Bhutan. And this is our shoemaker driver, Qu'il. Hopefully we'll have a wonderful trip.
We live in a world which has long been accustomed to measuring success in terms of the more obvious and tangible conventional yardstick of gross domestic product. Gross domestic product measures only the more physical and external aspect of life and of society. We believe that life has much more to it than simply its physical dimension. It was His Majesty, the fourth King of Bhutan, Gyalpo Jigme Singye Wangchuk, who introduced the concept of gross national happiness as being a more reliable, a more authentic indicator of progress. He said that gross national happiness is more important than gross national product.
We've been under the illusion that economic growth is the solution to all problems. In fact, to this day, when our politicians tell us that we're better off, what they mean is the economy's growing. If the economy slows down, there's a recession or a depression, then things are supposed to be falling apart, going awry. So we've hooked our view of progress to this materialist, economic growth-based measure. We've learned the hard way that that doesn't work. Now we're dealing with the effects of climate change, with species extinction at 1,000 times the natural rate. So we have decimated our environment. Same with our communities. Have we lost something in our community strength and well-being when people no longer know who their neighbors are? We call underdeveloped countries underdeveloped because they haven't become like the West. So we've had a very narrow, simple-minded view of progress. So here we're seeing a society which is determined to carve a different path for itself.
A big white building. This is what we call a dzong, which literally means a fortress. It's built by the founder of Bhutan called Shabdrung Ngawang Namgyel in 1648.
From the 17th century to 1907 in Bhutan, it was a theocracy. The first important change took place in 1907 when the first king ascended the throne. What is really unique to Bhutan is that the monarchy is a factor of change. The big change came in 1961 when the third king opened the country to development and started the first 5-year plan with the help of India, which was a big neighbor on the south. In 1972, the fourth king ascended the throne. He was only 17 at that time. He had already this idea to give more power to the people, and at the end of the 1980s, he came up with the idea of gross national happiness. It rests on 4 pillars, which are good governance, sustainable development, preservation of the environment, and preservation of the culture.
There must be the basic minimum economic and social security for life. to be meaningful and to be enjoyable. So the first pillar is an equitable, balanced socio-economic development.
When I think of the changes that happened in my lifetime, I feel really old, because so much has happened. Just in terms of schools and in terms of the road, the changes were dramatic. And the government was very wise in that they gave the biggest concentration and the biggest budget to the social sector, health and education. And that's been the cause of the big positive improvements in the lives of the people everywhere.
We are here in the district of Paro. Paro is one of the most prosperous valley in Bhutan. And you can see it right now to your left and right, the paddy fields. The soil is so fertile that you get one of the best rice in Bhutan, the red Bhutanese rice. And I love to eat that rice. We are in the archery field of Paro town. As archery being a national game of Bhutan, a lot of people are very much interested in playing archery. The bow and arrow, it represents wisdom and skill, because when you play archery, the arrow should always be very straight. So it represents how your mind has to be straight like the arrow.
People in this area of the world, they are sort of quite carefree and not naturally joyful. If you stay on a small hill, time of the crops, then basically everybody's singing in the fields. There is natural, people work, people sing. But there's some reflection of a sort of life that is not too stressful, not too diminishing, and more grounded in human values. So there's a general, quite good feeling.
I wonder why I feel so good here. Perhaps because of the simplicity of daily life and the incredible beauty of the natural environment. In an age when everything is based on money, when nature is destroyed in the name of progress, it is surprising to find a place such as this, unspoiled, almost untouched, a place with genuine values based on the universal desire for happiness that transcends culture, race, and religion. As a mother and now grandmother, it warms my heart and gives me hope.
The temple we see at my back is called Taksang, which literally means the tiger's nest. And it is one of the most important temples in Bhutan. It's believed like so many great Buddhist masters came here and meditate.
As students of Buddhist philosophy, we are both thrilled to have this opportunity to visit Taksang, the renowned retreat cave where illustrious masters meditated to attain enlightenment. And we're even more excited to meet a living Bhutanese meditation master whose feature films have inspired us and whose realization and kindness have been recognized around the world.
Putting so much value to the materialistic economy probably is key to unhappiness. And this is what Buddhists have for 2,500 years been talking. People can actually wake up and see the value of something not necessarily material, something that is more spiritual, freedom from greed, freedom from only individual thinking. I'm a good example. My brain is damaged because I go out too much. I have schools to run, I have foundations to run, and then somehow when you go into this kind of world, you then begin to forget how to take things easily. You begin to not relax because there is a schedule, there is a deadline, there is a definition of success, failure, and all of that. At least I have the knowledge to sometimes come back to this kind of place and contemplate. And this does make me at least a little bit of happy.
Arriving in the capital, Thimphu, I noticed more than elsewhere the effects of modernization. Seeing the rice paddies replaced by autoroutes, I wonder if there is less happiness in the city than in the countryside, and less happiness for the future than there has been in the past.
Right now we're at the downtown Thimphu, the capital of Bhutan, with a population of 80,000, which in fact has been doubled 15 years back. There's just only 40,000. As population increases, so is the cases with the vehicles also. We have traffic jam, air pollution. I'm a kind of person who like to be in a very quiet place. That's why I used to live here. Now I moved to the suburbs in a very isolated place. My parents got divorced when I was just 3 years old. So after that, I've never really heard about my dad. So I grew up with my mother. She did her best to give us all education. I'm very proud of her to sacrifice so many things in her life and to think about her children. That was a very difficult thing to raise up all the children. But she's a very good weaver. So that's how she could manage us to put into schools. And thanks to our government also, they gave us free education. We just need to get our basic stuffs to go to school. It's very important to be committed to your family. After what I've gone through, there's a special thing for a child to be with his parents. If my father couldn't be a good father to me, I can at least be a good father to my children. So that's what I'm hoping I'll be in all times to come. All the babies that are born in this valley should be taken to the temple, which is dedicated to the Bodhisattva of compassion. So we believe there's a deity who's very powerful, and once we take it to the temple, we get his blessing. Then throughout his life, the baby will be protected.
Bhutan is doing in 15, 20 years what happened in the West over 150, 200 years. Roads, cars, television, manufacturing, industrialization is happening very, very rapidly.
It's very difficult. People are moving around and people see things and they want, and it's going to be very difficult to say, stop now, this is enough.
Welcome to Tashashi. My name is Eden. This is our lobby area. And the hotel has just been started on 23rd of January. So I'll be showing you the luxury suite, which is the topmost category of the room. It's $600 in the off-season and $675 in the peak season, plus 20% tax.
I'm like 10 or 12 the first time I saw a television set. And these are some kind of luxury goods for Bhutanese people by then. And now if you go to any house, no matter what level of society they are, you can always find a television set. Really a vast change in a very few years.
There's no question that Bhutanese culture is currently under challenge. Bhutan, people say, had almost no crime until television arrived.
My name is Tanya. My name is Sring Ladin. You can call me as Ladin. We do our sister. Cross-national happiness. In the world, we are having the happiness and peace in the country.
because we give more preference to the people's happy than the gross national product. Economically, we are just lagging from other countries. So I guess at the same time we should go for gross national product also. If there is development, I think then our country would be very happy. Actually, my ambition is just to be engineer, but I don't know maybe whether I can fulfill my ambition or not.
My ambition is to become a teacher, but I don't know whether I'll get teacher or not. But anyhow, I'm trying my best. First, I have to fulfill my dream. Then after that, then I'll discuss with my parents. Then after that, maybe parents will tell me to marry. Then after that, I'll get married.
If we don't look after our parents, then there will be no other one to look after parents. So that's why, since we are dependent on them, now one day they should be dependent on us.
We feel the challenges of development, challenges of change, and not all change is improvement. So our attempt has been to try and balance the best of what we have received and also to choose the best that comes from development. So the idea is to bring about a harmony. We would like to achieve a situation whereby we can see a monk reading the scriptures while his food is being cooked by laser beams.
It's a relief to leave Thimphu and take the peaceful road to Punakha, ancient seat of historical Bhutan. In this country, monasticism still plays a vital role. Perhaps it is thanks to Buddhism that happiness is so highly valued here.
What you see is called the Punakha Dzong. It's the fortress built by the great Zhabdrung Ngawang Namgyal in 1637. And right now it serves as the seat of the local government and also as the winter residence of the monk body.
Karma takes us inside the Dzong to see a classical Buddhist fresco depicting a fable whose message perfectly expresses the philosophy of gross national happiness, and in particular, the interdependence of all living beings and the environment.
You can see this painting not only in any sacred places, but you can see even it in the common houses, because it has such an important significance. We call it the four harmonious friend. The story starts with the bird, which is right on the top, finding a small seed, and then he planted it. And the rabbit, with his urine, he started to fertilize the soil. When it started to become a little bit bigger, then the monkey came and gave water to the plant. Then came the elephant, and the elephant protected the tree from other external forces. And that's how they worked together and successfully planted the tree, then it gave fruit. So it's believed if you have this painting in a house or in any place, it will bring harmony, brotherhood, or friendship to that particular house.
The second pillar is conservation of the environment. Bhutan is one of the 10 hotspots of biodiversity in the world. We believe that all our mountains, our valleys, our springs, our rocks, our big trees are the abodes of the spirits, the sentinels of nature. We worship these supreme beings as being very intimate players in our life. We feel that we are able to live our lives successfully and in a more fulfilling manner only in cooperation and harmony with these natural beings. We need to preserve those, not only for our generation, but for all future generations.
It breaks my heart that where I live, in Quebec, most of our original forest has been destroyed by clear-cutting, by greed and ignorance. I'm inspired to see the efforts of the Bhutanese to preserve and protect their environment.
In Bhutan, the first Forest Conservation Act preceded the whole environmental movement in the West. And 26% of Bhutan is under complete environmental protection. Their old-growth forests are being preserved. They are not allowed by policy to export raw lumber. So Bhutan has made a conscious choice to forsake income because in the longer run, they understand that their true wealth depends on the preservation of their environmental legacy.
Now, our constitution requires that Bhutan must maintain 60% of the country under forest cover for all times to come. Of course, the need and the pressure from the forest will increase over the years as population increases, as the consumption, level, like in the West, rises. And some of these may have to be drawn from the forest resources. There will be pressure, but now that the constitution requires, I think the conservationists have a very strong, tool to fight back.
Arriving in the isolated valley of Phobjikha, we discover a unique example of Bhutan's conservation policies, gross national happiness in action.
Right now, we are here in Phobjikha Valley. This is one of the most protected region in Bhutan because of the black-necked crane. They come here by November, and by late March they leave. And it's quite amazing to see when they move away from here, they make a circumambulation of the temple 3 times. They believe it to be a very sacred bird, quite different from other birds.
Since ancient times, the cranes have always come here. Inspired by the sacred beauty of the birds, the people began to dance like them in homage to the cranes. When there is a couple of cranes, a husband and a wife, if one of them dies, the other remains single throughout their life. So when they are married for life. I respect the black-necked crane as a heavenly bird. I have such a strong feeling for the crane. It's difficult to describe. I feel it from my heart.
Black-necked crane is a very important species, not only as a biological species, but also a cultural, social, religious point of view. The local people had requested the government to supply electricity, so micro-hydropower plant was planned. Then we realized that we have to put in high-tension wires. That would be a disaster for the cranes when they fly in and out or move around. So we persuaded the local people, okay, we will give you an alternative. We'll supply solar panels.
We have around 6 panels and around 4 to 5 batteries. So this is one of the bulbs here. And we have 25 bulbs in this whole house. Solar is used exclusively for lighting in here. For other uses like heating and cooking purposes, we use firewood. But last night we watched a movie on solar. If we have electricity here, we won't be able to preserve the habitat for the cranes.
Just because we are mentally advanced doesn't mean that we own this earth. We should share the earth. We believe in interdependence.
Thanks to improved access and the introduction of local industries, the province of Bhutan has developed without sacrificing traditional values or environmental integrity.
Bhutan is considered to be the center of religion and cultural heritage of Bhutan. Bhutan still has a very strong tradition Like be in terms of their cuisine or the way they dress, or you can see the architecture also. Before 1970s, Bhutan is very poor valley. But then came the Swiss development project where they have initiated so many different cottage industries like the honey, beekeeping, then they have the apple, and then they imported this brown Swiss cow from Switzerland.
My name is Karma Topten, and I am running a metal fabrication shop, producing different room heating bukharis, boilers, and so on. This was started in mid-70s by a Swiss project. I worked for 6-7 years with them, and then the main Swiss project's aim is to hand over the project to the Bhutanese counterparts when they are able to. They gave us the chance. With one of my friends, we took over the workshop that time. For this small group, I think there shouldn't be any problem to run, say, for another 50, 60 years.
I started this business 15 years ago. The girls come from the surrounding villages, and I train them in carpet weaving so they can work here. I prefer that they stay here for at least 3 years. Then, later on, if they want to go back to their village, they can sustain themselves. If I can, I would like to expand the business and export to other countries. But for now, I'm happy with what I have and with what I am doing.
Compared with the status of women in other regions of South Asia, as a woman, I am impressed by the rights and freedoms of women in Bhutan. Here, they are considered equal to men and seem to enjoy both personal and professional freedom.
We don't have dowry debts, we don't have female feticide. When development reached everybody, women were free to join in and do whatever they like, who as an engineer, who as a pilot, who as a politician.
1991, the government decided to privatize the tourism industry. Since I had already worked at the department for many years, I thought maybe I should start a company, and that's how I started Ethnometho Tours. Women in Bhutan are all fortunate people, very, very fortunate people. We stand equal in the eyes of the law. Women are given a lot of support, and if they are capable, you can rise as high as anybody.
To say that we don't have any discrimination based on gender would be a lie. But it's not so obvious.
When I arrived, there was not a single article in the media talking about violence against women. Now we see almost every week articles talking about the topic and reporting cases. The change has a lot to do with the NGO that is called Renew, that is presided by one of the queens, which is really focusing on domestic violence. Now, in the 10th plan, many efforts have been made to mainstream gender issues into the development plan. These kind of initiatives will certainly help to create more changes.
The literacy program in our own national language, Dzongkha, is for the illiterate and semi-literate men and women of 15 years or more. I'm really enjoying my work because it contributes to the social cause. It's a non-formal education program, and the beneficiaries are mostly women. And they have family obligations like household chores and babies. This I see as a problem for not only those who are already enrolled in the program, but those who wants to enroll in the program as well. The enrollment increases every year. I have seen them becoming more confident in playing their roles in the society and basically see their happiness increased since being literate provided them with much more avenues for growth as individuals. I think happier citizens contribute to the country being happier and peaceful.
Over 60% of Bhutan's population still lives from subsistence agriculture on family farms. Hard physical labor does not seem to diminish their joy in life, but with an educated younger generation eager to migrate to urban jobs, I wonder how much longer this way of life can endure.
Basically, we have everything we need. If I need firewood, I can go out and get it. We also have a small solar electricity panel. We have come a long way working like this, and now we're old. Work is just part of life. We don't really feel lazy. But now the younger generation complains if they have a lot of work. With the help of government and our country being independent and our strong traditions, we're more than happy. Thank you very much for coming to visit our home.
The third pillar is preservation of our ancient culture. Culture is what defines a nation. Culture is what defines a community. Culture is what defines a people. And Bhutan has a very rich, ancient, traditional, cultural heritage. This has given us our identity as a nation.
At the end of a long day on the road, we arrive in the tropical heat in Tashigang, a town in the extreme east of the country. Here we will discover if happiness can thrive even in difficult circumstances.
Okay, right now we're here at the downtown Tashigang. The development piece is picking up even here in the east comparing to last 20 years. The valleys are very narrow, which result in less riverbed valleys, which is very good for cultivation of rice. They just use land where they don't need a lot of water. Usually the people are poorer, let's say not very poor, but poorer compared to the west.
This is one of the signal differences between here and other countries in South Asia. You don't see any beggars. The people are not starving, even the poorest people. The fifth king has great aims and ambitions for Bhutan. I think one of his first priorities would be to ensure that Bhutan is on a sound economic footing.
It's a sack full of green, fresh chilies. If there's no chili in cuisine, that means it's not a Bhutanese cuisine. But here it's used as a vegetable, in fact. Oh, mere gunguru banai, tujhe meri jana jaane ke liye.
In Bhutan, since the introduction of GNH, the education sector has evolved considerably. So we are quite curious to see for ourselves a local primary school in eastern Bhutan.
The goal of education is much more than simply acquiring literacy or obtaining a diploma or even finding a job, even though all these are important. It is a process of gently turning the human mind to look for and to love what is true and good and useful. So we feel that education and gross national happiness are intimately interconnected.
Class 1B, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
It is Tuesday. It is cloudy.
Good.
It's a very dramatic day today. It's the first day of the new elected parliament having its first sitting. The draft constitution states that every Bhutanese is entitled to free education to class 10, and also free health care. Canada's roots and collaboration with Bhutan have been in the education sector.
I have other colors as well.
It reminds me of my stay there. In 2004, I started classes in UNB. I went for the Masters in Education program that was funded by CEDA. The previous kind of teaching was actually kind of spoon-feeding them. Going there, I realized we need to teach the students the strategy to read by using pictures and meaning cues, by using visual cues, so those language cues. Coming to school is happiness for them. They are learning to read and write. They are being exposed to a lot of things. So that's going to make a lot of difference in their life. That difference, I feel, would bring them happiness.
The concept of gross national happiness should include a lot of the inner conditions for genuine well-being. That means chiefly promoting human values, creating the situation so that people are inspired to develop altruistic love, compassion, the feeling of interdependence, of universal responsibility to others, of concern for others and concern for the environment, and some qualities like inner strength, inner freedom, inner peace, so that they have the resources to deal with whatever comes their way in life. So I think Bhutan also is very well placed for that, since it has a very strong spiritual component, and that Buddhism is not just like a religious dogma, it's an empirical science of mind, of the mechanism of happiness and suffering, so it can set a very good example and have a very good master plan.
Today, we celebrate the Buddha's birthday with local inhabitants of eastern Bhutan in a monastery high on a hill. The devotion of the Bhutanese seems to contribute to individual contentment as well as to social harmony. Departure in the 1990s of a number of Bhutanese of Nepali origin following a new government policy concerning citizenship has been the subject of international controversy. Since then, the refugees have been living in UN-sponsored camps in Nepal, and many have recently been accepted by Western nations. In Bhutan, citizens of Nepalese origin, over 20% of the overall population, seem happy and well integrated. They participated fully in the recent elections and occupy 9 of the 47 seats in the National Assembly. Obviously, the situation is complex, evidence that reality, just like happiness, is highly subjective.
The fourth pillar is promotion of good governance. Governance touches all aspects of our life and of our society. The government of Bhutan is committed to ensuring the rule of law and enhancing the quality of life, giving opportunities to people to benefit equally from the fruits of development.
The fourth king is immensely kind. He is very reluctant to put himself forward, will all the time say that the development of Bhutan has not been him, but it's been the people. And the ultimate manifestation of that view is his finally, a couple of months ago, transferring responsibility to the people through a constitutional democratic monarchy.
While things were in the hands of a benevolent monarch, perhaps there was greater security in terms of protecting the notion of gross national happiness. But now a lot depends on which political party happens to win at election time. So I was invited there to work with the Center for Bhutan Studies in particular in developing indicators and measures for gross national happiness. We look at the health of the population, educational attainment, the quality of the environment, whether the gap between rich and poor is growing or not. So we're trying to measure progress in a broader way. So these measures and indicators are particularly important as Bhutan's parliamentary democracy develops in order to ensure that it doesn't completely go off the rails. The present Prime Minister of Bhutan and the political party that came to power actually ran on a platform of gross national happiness. The Planning Commission has been renamed the Gross National Happiness Commission. So the idea of gross national happiness is now being very deliberately brought into the planning process altogether.
I am optimistic about my countries going forth. It's very inspiring for every Bhutanese people to look into our two kings and work along with them. So right now it's too early to comment on the new government. Hopefully they just follow our king's vision and take the country to the next level. Time will tell.
Dried banana.
Once again, I am touched by the simplicity and sincerity of the Bhutanese people.
As the Bhutanese have been wrestling with this issue of how to preserve their values in the face of the growing materialism, they have opened up a dialogue with people in the West. Do we need to find ways of living and measures of progress that also take into account the health of our natural resources, the quality of our environment, the health of the population, the strength and vitality of our communities? So it's no coincidence that just in the last couple of years alone, suddenly Bhutan is a lead story in The Economist magazine, full-page story in the New York Times. Here's this little country of 700,000 people, and suddenly the West is interested. Canada hosted the second international conference on gross national happiness, led by a high-level Bhutanese delegation. High-level Canadian officials were present. Gross national happiness is very much a universal concept. There's more to life, there's more to our well-being and quality of life than simply more money.
If we were to invest in gross national happiness as a core orientation of our policies, you have to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, a general ethics in politics, in business, fair trade, an effort for peace rather than selling weapons all over the place. That will also increase the sense of universal responsibility, a more compassionate society, concern for others. That's right at the heart of the problem of our world. Is the world ready for gross national happiness? It's more than ready. It's desperately needing it.
As a part of the big family of human beings, the dream for happiness is something that we all share. Because the goal of life is much more than production, consumption, and more production, and more consumption. The goal of life is happiness.
On our way back to Thimphu, we cross over the Dochula Pass for the last time. I am sad to leave this place so far from my home, perhaps never to return. But I take with me the experience of an inspired vision and the conviction that GNH, if applied wisely, can help save this world as more and more people discover the happy example of the state of Bhutan.
It's good to make other people happy, and that you can feel it as some kind of special gift.
So I'd like to raise my glass to gross national happiness and to Karma Jr. and to all our good friends.
Everything makes me happy, in fact. I think happiness is something you need to build it deep down within yourself. Of course, we're human beings, and there are always sad and happy moments. But you should always try to be positive and always keep going in your life. I think that's happiness.
da de